Few things happened to me out on the X. One recently was up in shoal water. To the Yanks that have been in the training area, they'll remember the urban facility. It's a little town over about half a square kilometer made out of Connex and modified shipping containers, complete with doors, functioning windows, a realistic marketplace, and even a complex sewer system, accessed from various buildings and streets around the facility. Water came up to your knees, full of cane toads, snakes, and even a few eels. Greentexts in effect. 2011, Tailsman Saber, enemy party, playing an enemy SF call sign, chest rig over bomber jacket with baseball cap, accessories, and all that jazz. Blue 4SF situation has detected elevated radiation levels coming from the sewer. Blue 4SF mission is to conduct cordon and search of UOTF by night in order to locate possible radiological threat. Night falls. Have a pretty good working relationship with Platoon Sarge. He walks up, tasks me with patrolling the sewer, wants me to cap as many cunts as possible down there and then die in place. Thought we were mates, you dog cunt.exe. Open up trapdoor, climb down ladder, water just below junk at this stage. Pitch black, no NVG. Sounds of lapping water, toads doing their thing, croaking and shit. Weight on rifle up, using Surefire on FA8 as a handle torch. Have a rough idea where I'm going. Reach about the middle of the sewer complex. Big room, shaped like spider's web, connecting tunnels branching off in all directions. Lean against wall, switch off light and close eyes for a bit, listening to water lapping about. Decide the wait for sound of choppers. They usually chopper insert when raiding the facility. An hour or so passes. Gradually, the noise from the toads begins to die off. Water still lapping about though. Movement around my legs. Flick on light. Metric fucking shit ton of cane toads swimming every which way, trying to climb on me. Raise rifle a bit, look ahead. More toads, literally climbing and swimming over each other to get away from one particular tunnel. What the fuck? Shine light down tunnel. Light disappears into darkness. More what the fuck. Start to hear soft, ragged breathing from the tunnel. Shut off light, close eyes, and open mouth to try to hear better. Ragged breathing continues. Definitely not coming from me. Open eyes. Switch light back on. Breathing turns into hoarse laughter, like a patient with terminal lung cancer. Laughter increases in volume and ferocity. Hear sloshing, as if something is moving down the tunnel. Call out our army's warning when breaching with friendlies nearby. Our lads and those that have worked with us will know it. It echoes down the tunnel. Sloshing stops. Silence. Toads still milling around my knees. Suddenly, hear the voice of my mate repeating the warning back up the tunnel. Exhale a pent-full lungful of air. About to answer back and give him a bit of shit, when another voice from a different bloke in the platoon repeats the warning. Then another bloke. Same warning. Then another bloke. Then more. All different people. Some I don't recognize. Voices get louder. Start overlapping with each other, as if they're singing an out-of-time choir. Start to get a bit worried now. Voices abruptly stop, as if someone cut the cord. Silence again. No movement around my feet now. Quickly shine light down. No toads. Bring rifle up. Shine light down tunnel again. Shape in the light. Sickly wet form. Stoop down in the tunnel. Body is a writhing mass of tendrils, with a set of round yellow eyes that kept shifting in place like a chameleon. Freeze for a millisecond. Blink, not believing this shit. It screams Sarge's voice. Die in place. I bellow in fright, off safe and dumping a mag of blanks into nothing but air. About to turn and bell down the tunnel I came from. Rapid sloshing water behind me. It's fucking chasing me. Panicking, grunting and screaming. Falling over, trying to wade through the water. The fucking water and all the fucked out cane toads. Die in place. Reach the ladder grasping. Quickly sling gat and start yelling out to anyone whilst climbing up. The cunt grabs my boots and pulls me down. Slam my head into one of the horizontal rungs. Go underwater. Can't see shit. Massive weight pressing down on me. Both legs and arm pinned. Feel repetitive blows around my midsection, like something is trying to punch through the rig. Muffled yells from above the surface. Getting gripped around the throat. Can't breathe. Grab clasp knife from pocket with free hand. Start desperately slashing and stabbing at anything I can. Thrust it into something and can't get it loose. Start to black out. Lose grip on my knife. Light from above through the water. Think it's heaven. Weight relinquishes and inverts my knees as if it bails off me down the tunnel. Surface gasping. Suck in as much air as I can. Hear panicked voices and mates yelling down. Sound of rapid moving boats off the ladder. Look up to see my mate grabbing the shoulder of my chest rig, trying to pull me towards the ladder. Grab the fucking ladder, cunt! grab on, climb up as fast as I can behind him, burst through the trapdoor, gag a bit, vomit. Someone unslings my gat, sits me down. Chaos going on, headlamps and torches everywhere, bit of yelling. Someone tells someone to fetch the medic. Blood pissing from forehead, soaked through. Clothes and chest rig shredded, gasping for air. Looks like a fucking abortion. Did you cunts fucking... Mate chimes in. We heard your voice, bro. Heard you yelling. When we came near the drain, we heard Sarge tell us to stand down and go to bed. Came from the sewer, man. Yeah, we opened it up, shone our lights down, and saw a shape move in the water. Nick minute you surfaced. What the fuck, bro? I took in a few lungfuls of air. Something down there, man. Blank stares. Fucking bunyip, bro. They snicker. Call me a shit cunt. Pick me up, dust me off, and walk back to our connexes. Walk around for a bit. Some people still up and milling around. Decide to try to find out what happened. Apparently the Blue Fort attack was called off during the night due to OH&S situation in the sewer. Nobody knew I was down there. Try to find Sarge to ask him what the fuck. Politely ask platoon commander where he is. Sarge was tasked at lunchtime with a jacket run back in Rocky. He's due to return the following morning. Rack out with an assload of questions and bad feelings. Wake up a few hours later. My clasp knife had been placed right in front of my face on my stretcher. Few drops of stagnant sewer water on the blade. Fuck the sewer at Raspberry Creek. Yeah, I'll humor this thread with one of my experiences. No green because this isn't much spooky Greentexts YouTube. While I was at Fort Hood, my first sergeant made a big deal to tell the new arrivals and baby privates to get out and have fun on the weekend, not stay in the barracks during their time on the base. He mentioned hunting, fishing, movie theaters, and gyms, as well as anyone being allowed to hike the tank trails. Just stay away from the ranges. Decided to do the hiking thing. Saturday I head out after lunch for just a walk along the tank trails. Not doing the spur ride hiking shit up any incline or anything like that. It's a short walk to get on the trail, up the little mountain from where our company was. Spend hours walking along the trails. A striker platoon passes me and I wave. Saw some birds, a roadrunner, some squirrels. I'm feeling great. Turn around and start heading back after walking around for like 3 hours. Getting a little tired. Should be like just after sunset. I get back and I can shower and go to bed, right? I kind of lose where I came from because the multiple forks my dumbass passed without remembering which one I chose in what order. Just keep going in the direction down off the hills towards the tops of the buildings I can see. Bump into a few dead-end training areas I don't recognize. Nobody around. Sun is setting and I'm still not that close to getting out of the woods. Come to another empty training area and just decide to walk through it towards the lights made by the rest of the base I can see in the sky. I keep walking and just go through the actual woods to go in that direction. No trail. After getting scraped up by some thorny bushes, I come out the other side to another tank trail, and I turn to walk down it. As I take my first few steps on the new trail, I hear someone call out from a good distance behind me in the training area. Hey! Think I'm in trouble because someone was going to start using the area for something. I turn around and call, hey back. Silence. I call again with a, what's up? Or something. Still more nothing. I stand there for like a minute before I keep going. Can tell I'm actually getting closer to the base because the trails near the entrance of the whole training grounds are the most worn down and get this super fine powdery white dust from the tracks grinding it down. Like half an hour goes by. It's fairly dark by now and I hear again, hey, come here. This time, just off to my left. Sounds close as fuck. I stop and answer, what's up and who's there, etc. Nothing, despite repeated attempts. Keep going. I'm creeped out officially. Hey, come here. Calls out again from my left. Still just as close as before. I don't stop, but keep answering, like, yeah, what? Hey, come here, answers me back. Don't feel like going towards it at all. Pick up my pace. About once every 5 minutes, would call out 2 or 3 times, and keeps getting more and more frequent, until it's just sporadically sounding off. Still, just as close to me, somewhere off in the woods off the trail, despite the distance I've traveled and the curves I've gone down. I pick up the pace to a light jog, as I get closer to one of the bigger splits in the trails that lets me know right where I am, and I'm only a few minutes jog from the pavement and streetlights. After like a minute of me jogging, then the calling starts to roll over itself in rounds like a bunch of people are saying it in the same voice over and over out of sync. Still following my left side just in the pitch black of the woods along the way, start fully running when I hear that, and I go on for what felt like forever, until as I can finally see the end of the trail and the start of the roads, and the calling turns off like a switch. Silent all at once. I keep running until I'm under the streetlight, and I continue walking until I get to my barracks room. After I washed the sweat and dust off, I just collapsed into bed and knocked out. Didn't walk around there again. Give me your night shift stories. Weird shit you saw on security cams, weird motherfuckers who showed up in the gas station you work at, creepy hospital shift, whatever. Spoopy army story. Stationed in Korea. Little no-name base, mostly unmanned except for some kind of seismology outpost and a few soldiers doing who knows what. Aviation support or something? Small military police force. But largely a formality as this place is a fucking Mayberry. And there aren't enough people to get into any trouble. On the base are these little hills that dot the post here and there, pick related. These are the graves of soldiers killed in the Korean conflict. They were essentially buried where they fell in some areas. Anyway, enough setup. Each shift we need to do a walking patrol. It's the highlight of my shift because being crammed in a car all day blows. Start mine at about 2 AM because once curfew starts, people on base get into stupid shit. And now it's my problem. Walking past cluster of graves. See some people. He looks back at me and ducks behind one of the mounds. Hey, military police. Come out where I can see you. No answer. Assume it's some people fucking or something and they're just ignoring me. Go around the back of the mounds. Nothing but short-cut parade field, an area the size of a soccer field. Literally impossible to hide in. Radio station. Maine, this is B110. I'm out at the grave sites with a subject who has fled on foot. Will advise once I find him. No answer. Whatever. Radio guy's lazy shit. Keep looking around, but there's nothing to look at. Feel like I'm being watched. Radio comes on again. All units check radios, hot mic. A hot mic is someone transmitting without being aware, leaning on the button or something. It's gotten colder since I've been in that area. At this point, my something's fucked up senses are tingling, so I perform a cursory look around the area and get the fuck out, back to the station. That sergeant is pissed because he thinks I'm the one hot micing. All radio traffic records on the computer, so we play back my calls. Mostly white noise. At one point, you hear me say I'm on scene, followed by more white noise. We turn up the volume. Some of it's hard to hear, but some is surprisingly audible. Sergeant Long, more rounds. More water. In the tree line. There. Clear as a fucking bell. Wasn't supposed to be like this. Bricks are shat. Sergeant tells me and the radio guy not to mention this to anyone. Next day, have an order not to go near the burial mounds. Like I had to be told. Anyway, that's my weird night shift story. What do you got, X? Korea one was Wonju. Don't remember the spelling, this was years ago. I know that, but I wanted to know if there was any backstory about whatever happened in that location in particular. Nah, I don't know anything about them. The voices never sounded panicky or anything. I don't think it was a situation where they were massively outgunned. They sounded professional, like a soldier who knew what he was doing. The last one wasn't supposed to be this way. May not have been a dying line. The tone was conversational, like you talk about the weather. Thanks, OP. Sergeant Long. Well shit, there he is. And he died near Hoingsong, which is right next to Wonju, where OP was based. Spooky. Also, his last radio message stated that he was out of ammunition. I've googled Sergeant Long. He was posthumously awarded with the Medal of Honor for manning his position and directing mortar fire until being overran and killed in Korea. Charles R. Long. It's on Wikipedia. You heard his name and rank over the radio. Maybe it was his ghost. OP here. Holy shit. I never thought to put two and two together. Those are probably the heaviest bricks I've ever shot online. Wikipedia for Charles R. Long. His last radio message stated that he was out of ammunition and called for 40-round mortar strike near his position. More rounds, more water. My face when more water, said quickly, sounds an awful lot like mortar. When I was around 19, I entered the Army, Singapore, to serve a compulsory 2 years. Went through basic training, everything was fine. Found out I was selected to be a signaler after that. So I went to signal school for 2 months, which is another Army camp across the country. The building we trainees stayed in was a few decades old, but not too bad. It looked clean enough. There were all the bare facilities you'd expect, dorms for sleeping in, toilets for showering and stuff, and a small corner on the ground floor for people to smoke. The first few weeks were uneventful. We slept in single beds, 6 in a row, facing each other. But from the 3rd week on, things began to happen. Small things, but it was hard to ignore them. I slept in a bed, which was in the middle of the bunk, and I faced the open windows. Our bunk was on the 4th floor, and there was a tree outside, so it never got too bright. So, for some nights, I would lie down, go to sleep, but just before drifting off to sleep, my bed would shudder. It was a jolt, just enough to wake me up, but there was nothing when I woke up fully. Or there would be a random noise, a fractured sound to wake me up. Imagine someone saying something unintelligible to you just out of the blue. I just brushed it off as me being too tired. But as it continued to happen every other day, it was hard to ignore. It also meant I slept poorly. I would later find out I wasn't the only one, but everyone had their own experiences. People just didn't want to share things at first. I'll list some of the major happenings in the following post. Letter limit is 2,000, so I have to break it up into chunks. Pick is what the army bunks look like. The layout is slightly different, but you get the idea. Happening 1. I woke up in the dark. I looked at my watch. It was 1 a.m. I was about to go back to sleep, but I heard 2 people talking. Thinking it were my fellow bunkmates, I sat up to have a better look. It was some faint moonlight coming in from the outside, so I could make out shapes. The more I tried to make sense of it, the more I realized it wasn't natural. Everyone that I saw was clearly asleep in their beds. The muttering of 2 voices went on. The more I tried to listen to what they were saying, the more I could not understand them. They were not speaking in English or Chinese or any other language that I knew. It was a bunch of rapid gibberish noises, but there were clearly 2 voices. Terrified, I slipped back down into my bed. Happening 2. This was another night. I woke up again, but this time it was about 11:30 p.m. The room was quiet. Everyone was sleeping. Suddenly, I heard the sound of shuffling, the sound of flip-flops on the bare concrete floor. It clearly originated in the room, but nobody was walking. The sound traveled from one end of the room to the other. It was exactly as if someone was pacing the room, but I couldn't see him. When it reached the end of the room, there was a short pause. Then it'll start coming back again, in the other direction. Determined to know it wasn't just me, I rolled down to the side and reached across to tug my friend, who was sleeping on his bed. He was annoyed and surprised to have been woken up, naturally, but I whispered to him, "Do you hear that?" He didn't understand what I was asking at first, but by the very faint light, I saw his eyes widen in the dark. He could hear it too. "Who is that?" "I don't know. There's nobody." After a while, he shook his head and put his finger to his lips, beckoning me to be quiet. He turned around and wrapped his blanket over him. It was clear he didn't want to think about it too much. All of this, the bed shaking, and other small miscellaneous occurrences continued every other day. The timing of them increased gradually over the weeks, slowly ratcheting up the intensity. One time, there was a loud sound that took everyone by surprise. We were chatting and laughing normally, and suddenly, it came and shut everyone up. It was the sound of metal window panes slamming shut, but nothing moved. The windows were fine. Another time, the door to our dorm rattled loudly, as though someone was trying to open it from the other side. Thinking it was our sergeants playing a prank on us, we opened the door, but looking down into the long corridor, we were only greeted by a tunnel of inky darkness. Lights were off after 11:30. There would also be the loud stomping sounds coming from above, and even though the floor above us was uninhabited, locked off and empty at the time, there started to be gossip, of course, bringing up the issue to our superiors, where we were either met with denial or deflection. But it was clear, from their eyes, we weren't the first batch of trainees to experience this, and I wasn't the only one affected in my bunk. A few guys had it worse. People started moving out to sleep in spare beds, in other rooms, or even with other trainee batches, even though it wasn't allowed. I continued to stay, thinking I could just live with it, if only for a few weeks more until I graduate. Happening 3, major. I woke up again, wanted to reach out to check the time, but I couldn't move. I was sleeping on my side, and there was an empty space on my bed. I realized I had sleep paralysis, so I didn't panic just yet. I couldn't move, but I could see the room just fine. I could see everyone sleeping, which windows were open, the leaves of the tree moving. I told myself I would just breathe normally, and maybe I could wake up naturally. Then, from the corner of my eyes, I saw something that shouldn't be there. Something moved in that far corner. I tried squinting at it. Something tall, very skinny and black. Looked exactly like a stick figure a kid would draw. It would be almost comical if it weren't so terrifying. And if you don't believe me, I would understand. It moved across the room, striding slowly in a broken and stiff way, like a bad animation that was missing some keyframes. It walked/limped across the room as my terror built up and I tried to comprehend what exactly I was looking at. I wanted to say something, to do something, but I couldn't. Reaching my bed, it turned to look at me. The face was round and featureless, save 2 dots for eyes and a long, wide mouth pulled up into a smile. It sat down on the empty space on my bed and reached out with one of its arms. It had many fingers, I couldn't count them. Dried, writhly fingers. He reached out and touched the soles of my bare feet. I could feel each finger, the dryness scraping against my soles like worms digging for earth. With a massive effort, I broke out and screamed even more. People sat up and someone ran to turn the lights on. There was nothing there. I was sweating and swearing I saw shit. I could still feel the physical sensation of it, like an echo that contorts onto itself. I moved out into another bunk the next day. I've had enough. My mental health was suffering. Out of the 12 original occupants, I was the 5th guy to do so. There were only 3 weeks left in our training, but I didn't want to sleep there anymore. The incident legit turned me from a half skeptic into, this shit is too much for me, man. I'm out of here. It can't be rationalized. I just don't want to be around anything like that ever again. It's very mentally taxing, and not be able to get a good night's rest later on. I started to doubt my judgment of reality. It's totally not fun at all when you really encounter such things in real life. Be me, recruit in the Army. It's the weekend and I'm tasked with watching over our quarters for 24 hours. Have to keep all doors open so the patrolling sergeant can come inside and check the armory. It's around 7 p.m. when another guy comes in. Never explains why he's there. Does nothing at all except talk to me for like 3 hours. This dude is usually a fucking idiot who can't count to 10. But now he's in a deep philosophical debate with me. Like he's fucking Plato or something. After like 3 hours, he suddenly cuts the conversation and simply leaves without saying a thing. Weird, but nothing that scared me or sent me off. Come Monday, ask him what that was all about. He looks at me strangely, says he wasn't there, shows me pictures of him at dinner with his girlfriend. We go to the guard post and check the logbook. He was never there. I had a 3-hour conversation with a skinwalker or a doppelganger or something else. Nobody ever wanted to do that job ever again, which is not helped by the fact that we were forced to do it. Though nothing like that happened to anybody else, even though everybody was on edge. I had plenty of paranormal shit that happened to me in that place.